take a look at the muscles of the posterior thigh. I've already removed some of the gluteal region. So let me put back on what in street slang are called our hamstring muscles. So we cover back over that adductor magnus. There are 3 muscles in the posterior thigh. Keep in mind I've already removed the gluteus maximus. 3 muscles in the posterior thigh. The biceps femoris, the semimembranosus, and the semitendinosus. All 3 of those muscles have origin from the ischial tuberosity. The ischial tuberosity. Now the biceps femoris, as its name implies, must have 2 heads. The long head is from the ischial tuberosity. The short head, which we see very plainly on this model, comes from the posterior shaft of the femur. So here's the long head of our biceps femoris, notice from ischial tuberosity, and passing lateral to the knee to go to the head of the fibula. Lateral to the head of the fibula. And if I remove the long head of this biceps femoris, I can see that coming from the posterior shaft of the femur and following to the same point is the short head of the biceps femoris. So the biceps femoris works its way laterally in the posterior thigh. The 2 muscles to the medial side of the thigh are the semimembranosus and the semitendinosus. The semitendinosus is more superficial, closer to the skin. And in this model we can see here is the semitendinosus, and it wraps around to join with the sartorius, the gracilis, and now the semitendinosus to form that pes anserinus tendon. Deep to the semitendinosus and wider than the semitendinosus is the semimembranosus muscle. The semimembranosus muscle. So if I remove this piece of muscle from the model and rotate it, the anterior surface semitendinosus, posterior surface was the semimembranosus. And if you look closely near the knee end, you can see where there was a difference in these muscles, but somewhat hard to see on these models. Now all of the muscles of the posterior thigh, the biceps femoris, the semimembranosus, and the semitendinosus, are all flexors at the knee joint. They all function to flex at the knee joint. So to recap, muscles of the posterior thigh: semimembranosus, semitendinosus. Then we have, more laterally, the biceps femoris, the long head, and removing the long head, the short head. Muscles of the posterior thigh, also often referred to as the hamstring muscles.